This video is going to cover some of the instructions for the Imperialism mini project if you need to review it. So you have to create a digital product, and this can be anything. This can be a PowerPoint slide, this can be a Prezi, this can be something you make on a different program, Google Draw. It really doesn't matter as long as it can be turned in digitally through Google Classroom. What you're going to do is you're going to create that product and you're going to demonstrate your knowledge of imperialism based on the two guiding questions here. So the guiding questions are what specific group, nation, or country benefited the most from imperialism and what specific group, nation, or country was harmed the most. So you have to pick a specific group. Africans or Europeans or Asians are not a specific group. That is an area where people live. If you go down to the rubric, it details exactly what you have to do in this assignment. And it's kind of broken up into three categories. Our first one is the benefited one. So this goes with your question about who benefited the most. And you have two things that you have to do on that part of your product. First, you have to analyze. You have to identify your specific group, nation, or country that benefited the most. You then have to create an argument of why you think they benefited the most, and you have to use your sources, which we'll go over in the next part of the rubric, to prove it. All this is AWE. You're giving your answer, and I realize it's a little out of order, your why, and your evidence. Do not write a paper. This is supposed to be some kind of product, but this is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to prove it. So if we go down here, we can see that the next part is your sources. You have to have two primary and two secondary sources that you then use to prove your argument of who benefited the most from imperialism. So if you do not prove an argument, you're automatically going to be in this 2-point column. If you continue to go down the rubric, you see that the next section is harmed most. It's the exact same thing. You identify a specific group, nation, or country that was harmed the most from imperialism. You present your argument of why, and you use sources to explain it. Same thing, you have to have two relevant primary, two relevant secondary, and use them to prove your argument. So they're the same grading, it's just different on benefited and harmed. The final category is your digital product, and you have to have a product that has relevant information. So you're actually addressing the question about who benefited or who was harmed the most. It's easy to organize. It's easy for me to find the information that I need. Make sure that it's presented in a good way. It's not just blocks of text. It's not just random pictures all over the place. It's a good product. And it doesn't contain a lot of errors. There's not a lot of spelling errors. There's not a lot of issues with the formatting. It looks like a good product. And then finally, you absolutely have to include an MLA Works Cited page. You'll notice that it is in every single category. If you do not have an MLA Works Cited page, you will not be able to receive credit because that is plagiarism and you will receive a 0 on the project. So if you have any questions, let me know and I'll go over it in more detail with you. But I hope this video helps.